Is my screen visible to everyone? Is my screen visible to everyone? Okay. So let's continue with the explanation. Okay. So in the last lecture, I was talking about ER model, the design aspect. What are the what are the different notations used? Okay. So with in accordance with that, what we have studied yesterday, in that uh, we will be seeing some of the aspects related with the ER model, and at the last we'll be also talking about the design issues. So what are the issues which are faced while making the model, that is ER model or ER diagram? Okay, so I think this thing I have already told you, that just we will revise. Okay, because iski aage ki cheeze that are more important to understand uh, the aspect or the some of the topics which we'll be seeing. For that, this relationship types are important. Okay, so this already I have explained you in the last lecture. Well, but let's go through this. So here we have talked about an example where employee John Smith works on the product X project. Okay, or employee Franklin Wong manages the research department. So here important thing is that when you talk about the entity, okay, so please pay attention. This is very important. When you talk about the entity, we have this employee as an entity, we have project as an entity, and we have department as an entity. Okay, so different entities can have a relationship. Okay, different relationships can be formed between different entities. So here, if you see, when I was talking about the relationship, okay, the relationship can be one to many, many to one to one, or many to many. Okay, here we can have, if you talk about the degree of relationship, we can have unary relationship, we can have binary, we can have tertiary or ternary. So we will see that thing how the relationship can be made. But if you see here, when you talk about the binary relationship, we can have the relationship in this manner. So this is called as a binary, because two entities are taking part, two entities can be are taking part. So here, if you say, if I'm having an entity of employee, then this the other entity is department, and the relationship is works on or works on or works in. So employee works in the department. So this is called as a binary. Degree of relationship agar pucha jata hai, तो it is the how many entities are taking part in to form the relationship. So in that case, there are two entities, so we have to say the degree of relationship is 2. Similarly, if I'm making a relationship between the project and the employee, so here I'm having employee, and here project X or something like that. Okay, so manages the project. This is also binary. So जब हम issues पढ़ेंगे ER model के, that time I will explain you what issues are encountered while making a design. Okay, so here I just want to tell you that the relationships of the same type, the relationships of the same type are grouped or typed into a relationship type. For example, works on relationship type in which employees and projects participate. So works on this relationship will have the participation of employee as well as project. And in the other way, here manages relationship, this will have the relationship over the two entities. The two entities are employee and the department, which already just now I have shown you. So the degree of relationship type is the number of participating entity types. Okay, so both manages and works on are binary relationship. So that binary relationship you can see in the next slide. So this is the relationship. Now here, relationship instances of the works for relationship between employee and department. Now if you see carefully, This is the relationship. And if I ask you, tell me the cardinality, that is one to many to one to one, or many to many. So if you see here carefully, if I ask you the question, under which cardinality this ER diagram is, what is your answer? Tell me the cardinality, whether it is one to many to one, or many to many, or one to one. What is your answer if you see this ER diagram?
1 to 1 and 1 to many.
It is one to one or one to many. If you see carefully, we can say this is, the departments. If you see, it might happen the employee will belong to a single department. The employee will work for a single department. Okay, but it might happen that to carry out some project, different employees will work under the same project. Okay, so here employees and the department in which they are working, so it is like a one to one. Okay, many to one नहीं हो सकता है या फिर one to many नहीं हो सकता, because every department will have the individual employee. You will never see two or the single employee working under two departments. No. Okay, as you are the student of EXTC department, it will never happen that each or a single student will have two departments, or will study under the two departments, electronics and telecommunication as well as IT. No, no, that thing will not happen. Okay, so this ER diagram will show us that there are different employees which are working for the department, and it might happen that, yes, a single department will have two or three employees. Yes, it may happen, like department D1 are having employee E2, E1, E3 and E6. So if you see here, department D1 will have the employee E1, E3 and E6. Similarly, D2 will have the employee E2 and E4. And the remaining employees are working under D3. So E5 and E7. Okay, E5 and A7. So here this is called as the relationship set. Works for. Works for. Okay. Now here, as I have told you that we can have binary relationship. Okay, we can have binary relationship. This one I have told you. So this is called as a, if I talk about the degree of relationship, it is two. It is called as a binary. Okay, it is called as a binary. Okay, binary in which two entities are taking participation, or two entities are taking part. Two entities are taking part. Okay, now when you talk about the relationship, it is actually, the association among the entities. It is the association among the entities. Now when there is an association among the entities, we have to have either one of the four. Okay, so it is like 1 raised to m, or it can be m raised to n. M raised to n means many raised to many to many, or it can be 1 to 1, or it can be what, it can be many to 1. It can be many to 1. It can be many to 1. So sometimes the question is asked, they will give you the diagram, if they may give you the ER diagram, and they may ask you to show the cardinality. In that case, you have to identify whether it follows which cardinality. Okay, so that is more important. Here we have also seen the relationship set. In this we have talked about the relationship set, a set of relationship of similar type. A set of relationship of similar type is called as a relationship set. So here I can say this works on is actually a relationship set. It is a relationship set. So we have entity set of employee, we have entity set of department, and entity set entity set of employee is related with the entity set of department by this relationship set, because here we have different entity. Oh, sorry, we have different sets. As far as relationship is concerned, here also we have different sets as far as entity department is concerned, And here also we have different sets as far as entity employee is concerned. Employee is concerned. Okay. So in short, this is called as a relationship set. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we will proceed further to understand the rest of the thing. Now here, see here now. This is the relationship between the employee and the department. This is the relationship between the employee and the project. Now, can any one of you tell me what under what cardinality is this particular diagram? See, this is a relationship between employee and project. This is a relationship between the employee and the project. So tell me the relationship. 1 to M to 1, M to N. Which is the relationship, or which is what cardinality do you see in this relationship? I'm waiting for your answer. This is employee, this is project or projects, and this is the relationship. Please tell me the cardinality. Tell me the cardinality. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
So I am waiting for your answer. Choose one of these. Choose one. Choose one of these. I will not proceed unless you give the answer. Yes, Ayushi Mishra. Ayushi Mishra is there. Turn on your camera, Ayush. Ayushi Mishra. Turn on your camera. Yes. Unmute yourself and speak out. What is your answer? Ayush, you do not write in the chat box. You have to speak out. Unmute yourself. I am not able to hear you. I am not able to hear you, Ayushi.
Sir, is it many to one?
Wait. Okay, Ayushi, you join from phone. Neeraj, turn on your camera, Neeraj.
Sir,
Yes, Ayushi.
yeah, I was saying it is many to M to N.
Ha, M to N.
Yeah.
Give me the reason.
Because an employee can work on multiple projects, and similarly, there are multiple employees working for a single project.
ठीक है. Turn off your camera. Neeraj.
Yes, sir.
Ha, what is your answer?
Sir, M2M, sir.
Uh,
Same reason, sir. Employee can work on many projects, and many employees can work on a single project.
ठीक है. Turn off your camera. So here the answer what they have told is right. It is many to many. So we do not write m raised to m. Okay, we write down m raised to n, which is many to many. So here the what Ayushi has said is right. There can be a project which is handled by the different employees. There can be two projects handled by a single employee. Okay, and it can also happen that each employee is working for two projects or more than two projects. So it is a relationship where you can see m to n. Okay, where you can see the relationship between m to n. Okay, ऐसा नहीं होता है कि एक एम्प्लॉय को एक ही प्रोजेक्ट देंगे. It might happen that a single employee may have two projects. Like here we have a set of E2 which is working on P2 as well as P3. We also have E7 which is working on P1 as well as it is working on P3. Okay, so this is an example of many to many. If you will not answer, I will ask any one of you from the group to turn on your camera, to unmute yourself and give me the answer. It's better whenever I ask question, any one of you please answer. So we'll proceed further. Yes, more than one relationship type can exist with the same participating entity type. For example, manages and works for are distinct relationship between employee and department. Yes, now that thing already I have told you. Okay, here. So works for or works on and manages, these are the two different relationship between the employee and the department and the project. Okay. So but with different meanings and different relationship instances. This is important. Okay, even though we are talking about the employee, we are talking about the department, we are talking about the project, but the relationships are different. The relationships are the different. If I ask you which are the participating entities, you will say, sir, employee, department, and project. But the relationship between these entities are different. Okay, one relationship is work on and the other relationship is manages. Okay, so that is the meaning of this slide. We'll proceed further. Yes, so this is a ER diagram relationship type. Relationship, see the relationship types. How many relationship types are there? Pay attention. Works for is one relationship type. Manages is the other relationship type. Works on is the other relationship type. See here, works on and works for, they are different. Controls is the other relationship type. Supervision is the other relationship type. And dependents of are the other relationship type. And if you see here in the ER diagram, you will be able to see each and everything. See the relationship type: works for, manages, controls, works on, dependents of, and supervision. See, these are the, one, two, three, four, five, six relationships are there. So they are the relationship types. Okay, and the participant or entity participants are employee, department, project, and the dependents, and the dependents, and the dependents. As well as I have told you the meaning of double lining and single line also. Okay, so weak entity and strong entity अभी वो भी हम आगे पढ़ने वाले. But this is a diagram. I am not going into the detail of this, but I request everyone, after the class or whenever you have time, just go on this diagram and try to understand the concept. Now comes the next. Yes, now here comes the weak entity and the weak entity types. Okay, so to explain this, let me take an example. Already I have taken this example. Okay, already I have taken this example. Whenever you talk about the entity, whenever you talk about the entity in ER diagram, in ER diagram, this entity can be strong entity or it can be a weak entity. It can be a weak entity. Now, when you talk about these entities, how do you identify which are weak entities and which are strong entity? So try to understand the difference. Now, when you say that any entity which is a strong, there is only one criteria. There is only one criteria. Strong entity always have a primary key. Will always have a primary key. In the last lecture, I have told you what do you mean by primary key and how do you show the primary key. Can any one of you tell me the answer? Can you tell me what do you mean by primary key and how do you identify the primary key, or how do you show the primary key in the ER diagram? Anyone? Yes, we are talking about the entity. My question is, what do you mean by primary key and how do you identify the strong entity and how do you show the strong entity in the ER diagram? Yes, at least ये तो बताओ कि how do you show the strong entity in the ER diagram? If you will not answer, I will call anyone of from the this meet.
In the rectangle shape.
हाँ, in the rectangle ना, फिर जल्दी बोलो ना. By showing the single rectangle, we show it is a strong entity. By showing the double rectangle, we show the weak entity. Now, what are the parameters or on what basis you will judge the strong entity? The only one is the primary key. The only one is the primary key. And related with the primary key, I have told you, if, listen careful now, if the entity is having any one of the attributes which identifies or which shows the uniqueness. Okay, for example, I have given an example of a student and their respective roll numbers. Now here roll numbers are the is the primary key. So when you talk about the entity of a student, it has some attributes. Among these attributes, the strong attribute or the primary key is the roll number, because every student has a unique roll number. ये मैंने कितने बार आपको बताया ये. So if an entity has at least one strong attribute, or you can say the primary key, and how do you show the primary key in the attribute? कोई बता सकता है? If student is the entity, it is having three attributes. It is having three attributes. One is the roll number, other one is suppose the address, and other one is suppose the contact number. या फिर कॉन्टेक्ट नंबर मत करो, यहाँ पे आप नेम लिखो, नेम. आप बता सकते हो ये तीनों में से विच इज द एट्रीब्यूट विच इज शोइंग द प्राइमरी की? रोल नंबर. हाउ डू यू आइडेंटिफाई दैट रोल नंबर? या फिर ये तीनों एट्रीब्यूट्स में से रोल नंबर प्राइमरी की है, इसको हम कैसे डिस्टिंग्विश कर सकते हैं? अंडरलाइन. यस, अंडरलाइन. ओके, अंडरलाइन जब रहेगा इट शोज इट इज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग एट्रीब्यूट और इट इज अ प्राइमरी की. तो किसी भी एंटिटी को एटलीस्ट वन एट्रीब्यूट अगर स्ट्रॉन्ग है या फिर प्राइमरी की है, then we can say it is a strong entity. So here student is a strong entity. Here student is a strong entity. Okay, so again I'm repeating, strong entity always have a primary key. It always have a primary key. Okay, and yes, it always have a primary key. It is independent of other entity. This is also important. It is independent of, so the second parameter, it is independent of other entity. Independent. Independent of other entity. Strong entity is represented by a single rectangle. Single rectangle. come about the weak entity. Weak entity does not have a sufficient attributes to form a primary key. That is the definition of a weak entity. Weak entity के पास sufficient attribute नहीं होता है to form a primary key. To form a primary key. Okay, it is dependent. So no primary key, no primary key, and it is dependent. It is dependent. It is dependent on strong entity. So your weak entity depends upon the strong entity. So these are the two important parameters which will distinguish your strong entity from the weak entity. Okay, have you understood, everyone?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so here I can just give an example जो already मैंने दिया भी था. When you talk about the employee, एम्प्लॉय एम्प्लॉय का एक एट्रीब्यूट है आईडी. आईडी, सो इसको अंडरलाइन करूंगा. दिस इज अ स्ट्रॉन्ग एट्रीब्यूट आईडी. दूसरा एट्रीब्यूट छोड़ दो, सो दिस बिकम्स स्ट्रॉन्ग एंटिटी. अब ये विंग एंटिटी के साथ, इफ ये एंटिटी के साथ मैंने एक रिलेशनशिप वाला डिपेंडेंट बना दिया. डिपेंडेंट्स, इसके फैमिली में कौन कौन डिपेंडेंट्स है? ओके, so it may have multiple dependents. Okay, children, wife, and so forth. So these entities will be weak entities. These entities will be weak entities, so it will be shown by the double rectangle. बिकॉज इनके एट्रीब्यूट्स अगर लेंगे तो इनके एट्रीब्यूट्स क्या रहेंगे? इनके एट्रीब्यूट्स रहेंगे रिलेशनशिप, इनके एट्रीब्यूट्स रहेंगे सेक्स, मेल या फीमेल. ओके, लेकिन इनके इनके स्ट्रॉन्ग एट्रीब्यूट नहीं रहेंगे, या फिर इनके प्राइमरी की नहीं रहेंगे. इनके लिए हम अलग से नाम नहीं देंगे या फिर आईडी नहीं देंगे. ओके, सो जस्ट टू शो दैट दे आर डिपेंडेंट टू ऑन दिस एम्प्लॉय. सो दैट्स व्हाई these entities become weak entity, and they are dependent upon the employee. They are dependent upon the employee. Have you understood this example? Have you understood this example?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so come to this. An entity that does not have a key attribute, understood. A weak entity must participate in an identifying relationship type with an owner or identifying entity type. Here important thing is identifying entity type. Underline this, identifying. तो यहाँ पे if I ask you, tell me the identifying entity, your answer. If I ask you, the identifying entity type, इसमें कौन सा है?
Employee.
Yes, employee, because they are dependent on employee. So the relationship which is identified by the entity type is employee. So here always remember, identifying entity type is very important. Identifying entity type is very important. So entities are identified by the combination of partial key of the weak entity, the particular entity that they are related to in the identifying entity type. पार्शियल की बोले तो अगर ये डिपेंडेंट है, इसमें कुछ एट्रीब्यूट है, any attribute, but which is not strong, which is not primary, you can just show by dotted line. यहाँ पे तो अंडरलाइन करना पड़ता था, यहाँ पे डॉटेड लाइन है. डॉटेड लाइन का क्या मतलब है? पार्शियल की, not a strong key but a partial key. So partial key is shown by the dotted line, strong key is shown by the the continued line, okay, or the continuation of the line. Okay, it is not a dotted one. So here we have to understand that partial key will be always it will be always there for the weak entity. Okay, partial key will be always there for the weak entity, and your primary key will be always there for the strong entity. I hope you have understood this. So here example, suppose that a dependent entity is identified. हाँ, तो इसका example हम directly यहाँ पे लेते हैं. Okay, I will directly take here the example. See here, employee entity strong, dependent of. Even this relationship is also weak because it's shown by the double double diamond. And see here, dependent. Can you see a dependent in double rectangle? So weak entity. Can you see at the bottom, name, sex, birthday, relationship? This is not a primary key. This is not a primary key. Sex is not a primary key. Name can be unique, but it is in the dotted form. So this is a partial key. This is a partial key. Okay, this is a partial key. Employee, see here in the employee, there are different attributes. This is a composite. Different attributes are there in this primary key. Can any one of you identify the primary key for me? Or shall I zoom the figure? I want you to identify the primary key for the entity employee so that it becomes. I will. Okay, okay. Yes. और जूम करूं? मेरी आवाज आ रही है सबको?
Yes, sir.
हाँ, और जूम करूं या दिख रहा है आपको अभी?
दिख रहा है सर.
हाँ, तो बताओ ना प्राइमरी की कौन सी है? The strong primary key is here, SSN. अभी समझा?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is the relationship. Weak entity type is dependent. Identifying relationship is dependent of. ये देखो, identifying relationship is dependent of, and weak entity type is dependent. Strong entity is employee. Strong entity is department. Strong entity is project. is project. ठीक है, डिपार्टमेंट में बताओ स्ट्रॉन्ग ये स्ट्रॉन्ग ये स्ट्रॉन्ग एंटिटी है. टेल मी द प्राइमरी की फॉर दिस डिपार्टमेंट. नेम, ठीक है, नेम भी बोल सकते. कहने से नंबर, डिपार्टमेंट 1, डिपार्टमेंट 2, डिपार्टमेंट 3, नंबर. दीज आर द नंबर्स. सो आई थिंक दिस इज द प्राइमरी की. टेल मी फॉर द प्रोजेक्ट. टेल मी फॉर द प्रोजेक्ट प्राइमरी की. नंबर. यस, नंबर. नंबर, हाँ, नंबर. अच्छा, और एक बात है यहाँ पे इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. कैन यू सी हियर एन? कैन यू सी हियर एन? So this is this is many to one. This is many to one. This is many to sorry, here it is only n is shown, so it is one to many. Here if you see it is one to many. So n is written on that side, so it is one to many. Okay, so here अगर यहाँ पे भी देखेंगे it is one to many. It is one to many. Okay, it is one to many. So that is how the relation or cardinality is shown. Okay, that is how the cardinality is shown here. So we will proceed further. Yes, now we'll be talking about the constraints on relationship. Constraints on relationship. Okay, so the constraints on relationship type, also known as ratio constraints. Already we have done this. We have to maximum cardinality and minimum cardinality. Maximum cardinality, we have four types already studied: one to one, one to many to one, and many to many, m raised to n. Okay, in minimum cardinality, also called as participation constraint or existence dependency constraints. Now minimum cardinality can be 0 or it can be 1 or more. So this thing, I think it will be more clear when you see the examples. Okay, so when you see the example, that time it will be more clear. So let's see here. See here now, many to one, many to one. So there is employees are single, and every employee in the single department, but each department may have more than one employee. So this is a relationship where you have many to one, many to one. Okay, so here many, so your employee works for department, so this is many, so here you will have n and here you will have one, so many to one. Okay, many to one. Then this is many to many. Already we have we have seen this. Every employee and is working on more than one project. Every project will have more than one employee. Okay, and the relationship, so this is many to many. Yes. Now sometimes this is also important. We can also have a recursive relationship type. We can also have a recursive relationship type. What does it mean? It means that both participations are same entity type in different roles. Underline this: different roles. The same entity but different roles. The roles can be a supervisor or a boss, and the same employee can be a subordinate or worker. A subordinate or worker. Take an example. You have a mini project group. Every mini project group has a 4 student, but in that group there is one leader appointed. Okay, so that single person is also called as a supervisor. The role, if the role is of supervisor, and the same person is also the subordinate, same amongst the four, amongst the four. It depends upon वो role क्या कर रहा है, depending upon वो role क्या कर रहा है. Okay, so this is important, that recursive relationship type, a same entity with different roles, with different roles. अभी ये कैसे दिखाना है कि उसका रोल कैसा है? तो द फर्स्ट रोल इज शोन बाय नंबर 1 with label as 1, and the second role is shown by label number 2. This is also important. The primary role is shown by 1 and the secondary role is shown by 2. Okay, so this can be shown in the diagram. Please see here now in the diagram. So whenever you have to show in the ER diagram, the role is shown by the label 1, label 2. If so, see the diagram. See the diagram. The employee, see the two roles, employee and supervision. Okay, so for this particular thing, now here they have given the ER diagram. The employee can be a supervisor as well as the employee can be the coordinate. So here 2 and 1. So relationship for R1 and R2 for employee E1. It means the primary role of E1 is with relationship 2, and the secondary role of E1 it is shown by relationship R1. इसलिए ये जो लाइन पे लिखा है वहाँ पे 2 लिखा है टू शो द रोल, सेकेंडरी रोल, एंड ये लाइन पे लिखा है टू शो द प्राइमरी रोल. So if you see carefully, let me take an example of this. E3 का ले लो. E3 का लेंगे तो सेकेंडरी रोल फॉर रिलेशन R4. वही E3 का लेंगे तो प्राइमरी रोल विथ R5. ओके, वही अगर फिर से लेंगे E3 का, देयर इज वन मोर प्राइमरी रोल विथ R6. So this is called as recursive. Recursive. Okay, so single entity with different roles, and different roles shown by label 1 2, no 3. Primary role label 1, secondary role label 2. Okay, this is the called as recursive relationship supervision. Any questions so far? Any questions so far? Any question, any doubt? Please ask. Yes, am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Any question?
No, sir.
Okay, so we will proceed. Okay, recursive relationship type in supervision. So the same thing which I have explained you. Okay, we will proceed Attributes of relationship type. Okay. I think this is okay. Yes, this is important now. Now here we'll be able to understand the structural constraints. Okay, the way to express semantics of relationship. हमने एक रिलेशनशिप देखा जिसमें देखा हमने कार्डिनैलिटी. ओके, कार्डिनैलिटी देखा. अब दूसरा जो कंस्टेंट है दैट कैन बी शोन बाय द स्ट्रक्चरल एंड दैट इज बाय द पार्टिसिपेशन कंस्टेंट. दिस इज ऑल्सो वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. पार्टिसिपेशन कंस्टेंट. Again I am repeating, we have seen the cardinality ratio shown by this. Okay, shown by placing appropriate number on the link. मैंने बताया था दो लिंक में अगर दो एंटिटी में अगर हम लिंक बना रहे हैं तो उनका रिलेशनशिप अगर मुझे कार्डिनलिटी रेशियो में दिखाना है तो आई हैव टू प्लेस द नंबर. ओके, आई हैव टू प्लेस द नंबर. इफ इट इज 1 to 1 नंबर डाला नहीं तो भी चलता. 1 to n यू हैव टू पुट द नंबर 1 and n. एंड दैट इज ऑल्सो इम्पोर्टेंट कि आपको n कहाँ पे डालना है. इट इज 1 to many या फिर many to 1. And we have to also see that whether it is m to n. Okay, so cardinality ratio already we have studied. Now we are going to understand the participation constant. This is also very important. Participation constant. Now when you talk about the participation constant, here important thing we have to understand. I think this thing also I have taken, but let us see in detail. Now in the participation constraint, participation constraints. Now this participation constraint is actually applied on the entity participation in the relationship set. Is applied on the entity participation. Remember this, in the relationship set. Okay, so here you have two participation. One is a total participation and the other one is partial participation. Partial participation. Total participation is shown by double line, and partial participation is shown by single. You will say link. Again I am repeating, total participation will be shown by the double link and partial participation will be shown by the single link. I am talking about the participation constants. Let me give a best example. Let me tell you a good example. You have one entity called as a customer. You have the other entity shown by loan, and their relationship is shown by borrower. I want everyone to pay attention. This is important. See the link, single link. See the link, double link. See the link, double link. Okay, see the link, double link. It means the loan entity is having the total participation and customer is having the partial participation. Now see here, how do you analyze this diagram? Okay, when you talk about the customer in a bank, it may happen that customer may have taken the loan from the bank or may not have taken the loan from the bank. Okay, but when you talk about the loan entity, so for every loan entity there might be a customer associated with that loan. Okay, for example, if this is a loan and it has a loan number it has a loan number. If it has a loan number, it means that this is a strong entity, and loan number means For this loan number, there is a specific customer attached. There is a specific customer attached. And to show that, you show this by double link, that is total participation. But when you talk about the customer, even it has a customer ID, even it has a customer ID, even it has a customer ID, but this customer ID may or may not be associated with the loan. इसका मतलब वो कस्टमर ने with some specific ID उस कस्टमर ने लोन लिया होगा या नहीं लिया होगा. अगर लिया होगा तो he will be attached with the attribute of number loan number. अगर उसने लोन नहीं लिया होगा तो he will be not having this attribute of loan number. Okay, to simplify this, I can just say that whenever you have a loan entity, it means that every loan number will be attached with any one of the customer. But it is not compulsory that every customer must be having the loan. Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, sir.
Yes. So here total participation is given for the loan, but there is a partial participation given by the given for the customer. Okay. So participation constraint is applied on the entity participation in the relationship. तो relationship में ही अपन participation constraint के बारे में बात करेंगे. Okay, between the entities. So whenever the participation entity is having partial participation, then you can show with a single link. And when it is having the full participation, that is every loan will be attached with any one of the customer. But it cannot be happen that other way, that every customer must have taken the loan. No. Okay, so in that case, customer becomes partially attached and the loan becomes fully attached. So total participation is from the loan and partial participation is from the customer. Okay, so that thing is explained here. That thing is explained here. Okay, so when you talk about the participation constraint, okay, this is shown by a double link, double lining the link, double lining the link. Okay, these are easy to specify for binary relationship type. Yes, यहाँ पे मैंने binary relationship ही दिखाई है क्योंकि इसमें दो entity participate कर रहे हैं. So this is a binary relationship. Okay, so let's see an example. Let's see an example. Acha, the example they have not shown, but the example which I have given to you, that is more helpful for you to understand the concept of participation constraints. Participation constraints. Okay. Now we will see the next part. When is your next lecture? When is your next lecture?
220 sir, we have lab, CCN lab. 220.
220.
Yes.
Okay, then we will stop for today. In the next lecture I will be talking about the जो हम notation अब तक पढ़े थे उस for the relationship. Okay, we have the other notation, the alternative notation shown by in the bracket minimum comma max. Okay, so this minimum comma max, just a minute. So let me go to the notations. Yes, see a notation. ये लास्ट वाला जो दिख रहा है ना, minimum comma max, this is a structural constraints shown by minimum comma max on participation of E in R. Okay, तो अब तक हमने जो पढ़ा उसके बेसिस पे I will be able to explain you this one. Yes, total participation of E2 in R. E2 in R, can you see a double lining? Double lining means total participation. So total participation of E2 in R, I can show you. हमने ये भी पढ़ा है तो ये भी मैं बता सकता हूँ. Cardinality ratio 1:n for E1:E2 in R. Can you see here two entities E1 and E2? अभी यहाँ पे देखो क्या लिखा है. over the link between R and E2, n is shown. So this is 1 raised to n. This is 1 raised to n for E1 and E2 in R. Okay, so this thing also we have studied. Okay, yes, key attribute. Okay, key attribute, that is a primary key. That thing also we have studied, and the rest of the thing already we have studied. Okay, okay, then we can stop for today. We will see in the next lecture the remaining part. Attendance हो गया कि एक बार check करो. प्रियंका मैम ने लिया attendance? अटेंडेंस हो गया ईशा?
सर हो गया होगा.
हाँ ठीक है then everyone can leave. Thank you. If you have question please stay, others can leave.